Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. So as you guys know, we have a major sports scandal, but you wouldn't know anything about it because people are simply not talking about it. And one of those people is Malika Andrews. As you guys know, about 3 or 4 years ago, there was a huge NBA scandal that broke out involving then Boston Celtics coach Ime Udoka, who had led his team to the NBA Finals, and they ultimately lost, I believe it was, to the Golden State Warriors. But prior to him taking a head coaching position, the Boston Celtics were just kind of like a middle of the pack team. And when he took over, they became the #1 defense in the NBA, and they went on to beat players like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and some of these guys on their stampede towards the NBA Finals. So after that run that the Celtics had, everyone thought that Ime Udoka was going to get a contract or something like that from the Boston Celtics. And then this bombshell story broke, which was he allegedly had a sexual relationship with someone working within the Boston Celtics organization. And when the news blew up, one of the people that was really out there in the forefront going after Ime Udoka was Malika Andrews herself, to the point where she even tried to scold Stephen A. Smith on his show on ESPN for basically trying to make sense of the situation because he refused to just throw Ime under the bus the way everybody else did. And I remember that because that was a seminal moment in Malika Andrews' career that ended up painting her as someone that only goes after black figures. Take a listen to this original video here.
Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop. What became apparent to me in this press conference is that we do not have all of the information here. And it was frustrating to me that the Celtics declined to elaborate or to give more specifics about what exactly the rule breaking was that led us to this point. So that I just want to get that out of the way first. But to answer your question, Molly, I think what stood out to me, I think what stood out to me is that Brad Stevens, he was upset. That's what stood out to me about what he termed rampant Twitter BS is the word that he used, that women were unfairly dragged into this within the Celtics organization. You could see that Brad Stevens was visibly upset about this. And I also found that to be gross and unnecessary, that folks were bringing in the names and the images of women that is just not a fact. That was purely speculation. And so to me, that is what stood out. But the Celtics as an organization could have done more. And short of doing more ahead of this yesterday, they could have owned that responsibility in this press conference. I understand that there were legal parameters that they had to operate within for everybody involved. And I appreciate the fact that they brought in outside counsel and did a thorough organization. And I think that that is something that was clearly necessary in this situation. But the fact that it was able to go on all day, the fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
First of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserves, the fact of the matter is, I've said he deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I've already said he deserves to be fired, or he deserves to be there and handle it internally and privately. If you're not going to handle it privately, if you're going to publicize it in that fashion, then obviously it provokes everybody wanting to know, okay, well, who are the parties involved? When you have Amina Smith in Boston and other women pointing out the fact that there were women who were wrongly implicated in all of this, it's a disservice to them. I didn't come out with the report about a consensual relationship. I didn't come out with the report ahead of time leaking that they were going to suspend him for the year. They did that. And my point is, considering how pervasive this kind of stuff has existed in professional sports for many years, my whole point is that, make sure that you handle it in the same fashion it has always been handled.
So that happened, right? Then subsequently, as we found out they were going to, release his contract, we later on heard that the Brooklyn Nets were considering interviewing and hiring Ime Udoka for the head coaching position. And then Malika Andrews again showed up on ESPN talking about fighting for the rights of women and where is the justice for the women that were involved in this situation. And she was going after Ime Udoka again. Take a listen to this sound here.
I want to bring Zach Lowe into this conversation now because it's not lost on me that Ime Udoka has done incredible things with the Boston Celtics. But it just seems like if we're having this conversation about Ime Udoka being hired by Brooklyn, where he was an assistant coach, accountability is the word I keep coming back to. Where is the accountability to women in the NBA? Zach, what do you make of this?
Let's just rewind the whole thing. The last 16 months in Nets land, after, as RJ said, they were very close to unseating the Bucks and doing who knows what in the playoffs when they had what will now forever be known as the greatest theoretical team in NBA history. Here's what's happened since then, and I had to write it all down, culminating in Ime Udoka's hire, which I'll get to, I promise. Number one, Kyrie Irving refuses to get vaccinated, misses most of last season after taking a hiatus from the season before. Number two, James Harden looks around and is like, oh, this stinks. I didn't sign up for this. I'm going to quit on the team until you trade me. Number three, they trade for Ben Simmons, who misses the whole season, has back surgery, and is now afraid to shoot or get fouled. Number four, Kyrie opts into the last year of his contract because nobody wants him. Number five, Durant demands a trade. Then when he doesn't get it, issues an ultimatum that Steve Nash get fired and Sean Marks get fired. That fails. Everybody comes back. Yay, everything's fine. The vibes are amazing. Oh my God. Well, flash forward like 2 more weeks. The team stinks. Kyrie Irving tweets out a movie full of anti-Semitic tropes, refuses to answer questions about it, and now they fire Steve Nash and without any explanation hire the coach that the Celtics just suspended for what they deemed an inappropriate consensual relationship, which either means one of two things. Number one, they didn't vet Udoka at all, or number two, they've been vetting him this entire time while Steve Nash was the coach of the team. I'm so tired of it. This team has won 1 playoff series in 3 years. 1. Do something. Get something right, and then we'll talk about something else, because I'm tired of this.
That I don't know that anyone can say it better than that, Richard.
So you saw that there. Then subsequently after that, she cut off Kendrick Perkins for trying to talk about it on ESPN. Then she went after Brandon Miller during the draft night, and she was called out brutally for that. And people were like, what's going on here? And then the person that they were looking to replace Ime Udoka with, Joe Mazzulla, out of nowhere, she started going through his past and digging up some dirt on his. And it was like, what is wrong with this woman? But then the Josh Giddey situation occurred, and we couldn't hear anything about her. We didn't hear anything about her. I had to do a video on vacation calling her out. And then ESPN forced her to actually come out there and make a statement because of how she had been looking. Then we get this new scandal in the NFL with Vrabel and Rossini, who I believe was a reporter for The Athletic, essentially having a sexual relationship with one another. And it is now exploded all over the media scene. So we did a video about this, I believe it was last week, where people were like, why is Malika Andrews so silent on this? I thought she's here for women's rights. I thought she's always she's always standing up for women. Why is she so quiet on this? So I was just going through the internet today, and I came across post after post after post after post after post of people on Twitter asking, why is Malika Andrews so silent on this issue? I'll go through I'll just go one by one. One person says, hey, Malika, what are your thoughts on this Mike Vrabel dilemma? I would love to hear your take. Another person said, the internet calls out Malika Andrews for her silence. Okay, that someone shared our video. Another guy said, Vrabel is getting this treatment. Where was Malika Andrews when she is needed? That's for the Ime Udoka situation. Then we have more. We have another one here. This guy says, you know who I haven't heard about this Mike Vrabel bleep, Malika Andrews, but we all remember the Ime Udoka bleep in there. That's another person. Another guy said, white players are protected by them. They get paid by slander black players, I guess two slander and black coaches. If Vrabel was Mike Tomlin, ESPN, FS1, and TMZ would have sunk their teeth into the scandal like they did with the Ime Udoka. Remember Malika Andrews bringing up Missoula's past and not JJ Redick. I even forgot about JJ Redick's past. And JJ Redick had a sketchy past. Another person said, Malika Andrews, a piece of, you know what? That insufferable B had a lot to say when Ime Udoka, about Ime Udoka, but nothing to say about Mike Vrabel. This Zionist bedwench hates black men, and so I hate that, like I hate whatever. All right, so we have that one. Then we have another one. Who is this one from? He says, no. Okay, so I think I just read that one. Then we have another one here. I mean, the comments just kept going on and on. Where's Malika Andrews, at Malika Andrews, with the Mike Vrabel slander? I'm here for it. Apples for apples. Same city, same similar situation. One coach who was not married had an affair with a married woman. You burn crosses on ESPN until he was fired. Another person said, I mean, it just kept on going on and on and on. So ESPN loves essing on Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson for literally existing, but completely silent on Mike Vrabel. Stephen A. Smith, where you at, big dog? Malika Andrews, no journalistic integrity to uphold. This is what people are saying. This is what people are saying about Malika. And now some people have come, well, Malika Andrews, man, she covers the NBA. She covers the NBA. So why would she talk about what's going on in the world of football? Well, my thing is, I thought you're an advocate for women. Are you telling me your support for women only stops in the NBA? That if a woman is done wrong or treated unfairly in another sport, you can't say anything about it? Even in your free time, you didn't even put up a tweet about it? We're not saying dedicate an entire segment to it on ESPN, but nothing to say about it. Meanwhile, you went out of your way to dig up dirt on all of these other guys when no one asked you to. And then for the Josh Giddey situation, you were silent as a church mouse. Even Stephen A. Smith, we got to wait for more information to come out. Really? So when you build a reputation for yourself of standing up for women, people want to see you do it across the board. That's why people are pissed off here. These are my thoughts. The question is, do you think Malika Andrews should say something about this since she's an advocate for women?